The frozen lake stretched silent under gray Alaskan sky, its surface broken where the ice had cracked and swallowed something heavy. Master Sergeant Frank Mercer stood at the edge of that darkness, watching the recovery team work. 58 years old, 36 years in uniform. He had seen bodies pulled from worse places than this, but not this body, never one like this. The crane groaned, cable went taut, water churned black as something rose from beneath. A shipping container, military grade, sealed tight. "Sir," the young specialist beside him was maybe 22, fresh-faced, probably on his second winter deployment. "Containers secured. Permission to open." Mercer nodded once. His breath misted in the 15-degree air. Wind cut across the lake like a blade. They worked the locks, heavy bolts, watertight seals designed to keep things in or keep things out. When the door finally opened, cold water poured onto the ice. Then they pulled out the body bag, black plastic, standard issue, the kind that came home from wars in the bellies of cargo planes. The specialist looked at Mercer, waiting. "Open it." The zipper sounded too loud in the stillness. The specialist pulled it down 6 inches, stopped. His face went white. Mercer stepped closer, looked inside, saw dark hair plastered against pale skin, saw green eyes open and staring at nothing, saw a face he had known for 8 years, a face he had trained, a face that should not be here, should not be dead, should not exist inside a body bag at the bottom of a frozen lake in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. Master Sergeant Dana Reeves, 32 years old, Army Special Forces, SEER instructor, his best student, his protege. The soldier he had personally selected, personally trained, personally vouched for when everyone said a woman could not handle the cold water protocols. She had proven them wrong. She had set records. She had become legendary in a community that did not grant legends easily. And now she was dead. "Sir," the specialist's voice was small, "who is she?" Mercer did not answer immediately. He was looking at the scratches inside the container door, fresh metal exposed where fingernails or something harder had scraped against steel, deep grooves, desperate, the marks of someone who had been alive when they sealed her in, someone who had fought. His radio crackled, encrypted channel, command frequency. Asset FH447 terminated. Protocol sequence 6 of 8 complete. Confirmed disposal. The words were automated, computer-generated. No human voice, just algorithm reading text. Mercer's hand went to his sidearm without thinking. Old instinct, threat assessment. But the threat was not here. The threat was in those words, in that message, in the fact that someone somewhere had activated something called protocol, had designated soldiers as assets, had terminated them like programs being shut down. And Dana was number 6. Which meant there were 2 more. "Sir," the specialist again, "what do we do with her?" Mercer looked at the young man, thought about telling him the truth, that this was not an accident, that someone had murdered a decorated Special Forces soldier, that whoever did it had resources, had access, had the ability to make it look official. Instead he said, "Secure the body, full honors, I will handle notification." "Yes, sir." Mercer walked back to his vehicle, a black Tahoe with government plates. He got in, closed the door, sat in silence for 30 seconds. Then he pulled out his phone, not his military-issue device, his personal cell, the one with encrypted apps that technically violated regulations but every operator with half a brain kept anyway. He typed 3 words. "Protocol is active." Sent it to a number with no name attached. Then he started the engine and drove away from the lake. The body bag stayed behind, but the question followed him. If Dana was target 6, and there were 8 total who were 7 and 8. He knew the answer before he checked. Target 7 was him. The message on his screen confirmed it 40 minutes later. Anonymous sender, encrypted routing, impossible to trace, but the content was clear. Target 7, Mercer, Frank E. execution scheduled 36 hours. 36 hours to live. He should have been afraid. He was not. He was angry. 48 hours earlier, none of this had been real yet. 48 hours earlier, Dana Reeves was alive and teaching a SEER class to 20 new recruits at Fort Wainwright. The thermometer outside read 8 degrees. Inside the training tank, the water was 35. Cold enough to kill in minutes if you did not know what you were doing. Long enough to teach if you did. Dana stood on the platform above the tank in full cold weather gear. Below her, the recruits watched. Most of them looked nervous. One looked terrified. A young woman, maybe 26, Asian features, short black hair. Lieutenant Amy Chen, fresh out of officer training, first winter deployment. She had almost failed the initial cold water test 2 days ago. Almost quit. Dana had seen that moment, had recognized it. The moment when your body screams that this is impossible, that you will die, that you need to get out now. Dana had experienced that moment 8 years ago, in this same tank, under the instruction of the same man who now sat in the back of the room watching this class, Frank Mercer, the legend who had trained over 1,000 soldiers in survival techniques, the man who had given her a second chance when everyone else said she was done. She owed him everything. Cold water is not your enemy. Dana's voice carried across the training bay, calm, authoritative, the voice of someone who knew what they were talking about because they had lived it. Your panic is your enemy. Your body's response is predictable. Your brain will tell you to surface immediately. Your muscles will cramp. Your breathing will accelerate. These are all survival responses. They are also all wrong. She pulled off her jacket, then her boots, then her thermal layer down to a simple black wetsuit. The recruits shifted. They knew what was coming. The human body can survive in 35-degree water for 15 minutes if you control the response. I am going to show you how. She stepped to the edge, paused, looked directly at Lieutenant Chen. Watch carefully. This could save your life. Then she dropped into the tank. The cold hit like electricity, every nerve ending firing. The gasp reflex immediate and overwhelming. But Dana had done this 300 times. She controlled the gasp, forced her lungs to release slowly, let the cold settle into her skin like an old familiar weight. Underwater she was calm. She let herself sink to the bottom, 15 feet, sat there, cross-legged, eyes open. The recruits above were blurry shapes through the water. She could feel her heart rate slowing, 48 beats per minute, then 40, the mammalian dive reflex, the body's ancient adaptation to cold water, blood flow redirecting to core and brain, extremities going numb, metabolism dropping. She stayed under for 5 minutes. When she surfaced, none of the recruits were breathing normally. They had been holding their breath watching her. She climbed out, water streaming, skin red from cold but moving normally, no shivering, no distress. That is how you survive. She pulled a towel around her shoulders. Questions. Silence, then Lieutenant Chen raised her hand. How do you not panic? Dana looked at her, saw herself 8 years younger. You train until panic becomes noise. Then you ignore the noise. Practice makes it automatic. Fear makes you hesitate. Hesitation makes you dead. So you practice until there is no hesitation. The class ended. Recruits filed out. Chen lingered. Sergeant Reeves, can I ask you something? Go ahead. I almost quit 2 days ago in this tank. I thought I was drowning. How did you know to give me another chance? Dana smiled slightly. Because Master Sergeant Mercer gave me one, 8 years ago. Same situation, I failed. He could have cut me. Instead he said I had 24 hours to decide if I was serious. If I came back, he would test me again. If I passed, I stayed. If I failed, I was done. What did you do? I came back, and I did not fail. Chen nodded. Something settled behind her eyes, determination replacing doubt. Thank you, Sergeant. Do not thank me, just do not quit. After Chen left, Dana found Mercer waiting outside. He had watched the entire demonstration from the shadows. He always did, still evaluating, still teaching. Even though he had been her instructor years ago, he still watched, making sure she was doing it right, making sure she was not cutting corners, making sure the next generation learned the way he had taught them. Good class. His voice was gravelly. 3 decades of shouting orders in cold weather. You are better than I was at your age. I learned from you. You surpassed me. That is what students are supposed to do. They walked together toward the administrative building. Late afternoon, sun already setting. Alaska winter meant darkness came early and stayed late. You have a minute, Mercer asked. Always. They stopped near the flagpole, out of earshot. The wind carried away their words. I am retiring, Mercer said it quietly, like he was confessing something. 6 months, mandatory age out, 36 years is enough. Dana felt something cold that had nothing to do with weather. You are the best instructor we have. You are now. They want you to take over the program. I am not ready. Neither was I when they gave it to me. You will be fine, better than fine. You will be exceptional. When do I need to decide? No decision needed. Already decided. I recommended you. Command approved. You start in 6 months when I leave. Consider this your notice. Dana looked at him, saw the years etched in his face, saw the scars from operations he never talked about, saw the weight of training over 1,000 soldiers and knowing some of them had died using the skills he taught. That was the burden of instructors. You taught people to survive. Sometimes they did not. Sometimes you saw their names on memorial walls. Sometimes you wondered if you taught them wrong, if you missed something, if you could have done better. Why me? She asked. Because you understand what it means to fail and come back stronger. That is what we teach here. Not invincibility, resilience. You have that. You can teach it. Before Dana could respond, her radio crackled. Command frequency. Master Sergeant Reeves, report to Colonel Cross. Immediate. Dana and Mercer exchanged looks. Immediate meant now, meant drop everything, meant something classified. Go, Mercer nodded. We will talk later. Dana headed to the headquarters building. 3 stories, concrete and steel, no windows except on ground floor. The kind of building designed to keep secrets. Colonel Victoria Cross was waiting in her office. 52 years old, 28 years of service. Intelligence background. She had taken command of the Special Operations Training Division 6 months ago. Reputation was she was brilliant, ruthless, and politically connected at levels most colonels never reached. She had friends in the Pentagon, friends in the CIA, friends in places that did not officially exist. Sergeant Reeves closed the door. Dana did. The office was sparse. Desk, 2 chairs, computer, file cabinet, American flag in the corner, everything regulation, everything clean, nothing personal, no photos, no memorabilia, the office of someone who did not plan to stay long. I have an assignment for you. Cross slid a sealed envelope across the desk. Classified, time sensitive. You leave in 2 hours. What is the mission? Test new survival protocol at remote site. Extreme cold conditions. You will be alone. Report back in 72 hours. Dana picked up the envelope. Heavy paper, wax seal, old-school security, the kind used when electronic communications were not secure enough. No mission brief. Open the envelope when you arrive. Everything you need is inside. Dana hesitated. This was unusual. Normally there were briefings, team assignments, logistics coordination, equipment checks. Going solo on a classified mission with no advance information was not standard procedure. It violated half a dozen protocols. Ma'am, with respect, this is irregular. Who authorized this? Cross's expression did not change. I did. Consider it a personal request. You have the best cold weather survival record in the division. If anyone can test this protocol, it is you. Are you refusing the assignment? The question was polite. The implication was not. Refusing a direct order from a superior officer had consequences, especially when that officer had the kind of connections Cross had. No, ma'am, I will complete the mission. Good, helicopter leaves at 1800 hours. Pilot has coordinates. Do not discuss this with anyone, not even Mercer. That was the final red flag. Not even your instructor, not even the man responsible for your training. Complete operational security or complete isolation. Dana took the envelope, stood, saluted. Dismissed. She left the office feeling the weight of that envelope like it was made of lead instead of paper. 2 hours later, she was airborne in a Black Hawk. Pilot was professional, no small talk, no questions, just flew the route he had been given, northwest into the wilderness, away from bases, away from roads, away from anything resembling civilization. The terrain below was white and empty, frozen lakes, pine forests heavy with snow, mountains in the distance like teeth against the sky. After 90 minutes, the pilot spoke over the intercom. Landing zone ahead, Frost Lake, cabin on the south shore, that is your stop. Dana looked down, saw the lake, saw the cabin, small structure, smoke coming from chimney, single dock extending onto the frozen surface, and at the end of that dock something she had not expected. A shipping container, metal, military grade, just sitting there on the ice. The helicopter touched down 50 yards from the cabin. Dana grabbed her pack, stepped out into rotor wash and blowing snow. The pilot did not cut the engine. You need me to wait, he shouted over the noise. No, I have extraction coordinates. That was a lie. She did not have extraction anything, but she could not tell him that. The pilot nodded, lifted off. Within 30 seconds, the Black Hawk was gone and Dana was alone. She walked to the cabin. Door was unlocked. Inside was warm, fire burning in the stove, supplies on the shelves, radio on the table, everything you would need for a remote survival test, everything except instructions. She opened the envelope. Single sheet of paper, typed message, no signature. Protocol 447F test subject will assess extreme cold water survival parameters. Await further instructions. That was it. No timeline, no objectives, no success criteria, just wait for orders. Dana set the paper down. This was wrong. Every instinct said this was wrong, but orders were orders. She had been a soldier for 10 years. You did not question direct orders from command unless you had evidence of illegality. Unusual was not illegal. Uncomfortable was not illegal. Classified was definitely not illegal. She waited. 30 minutes later, the radio crackled to life. Colonel Cross's voice, clear despite the encryption static. Sergeant Reeves, begin protocol now. Enter the container at the dock. Dana keyed the microphone. Ma'am, I need clarification. What am I testing inside the container? That is classified. Enter the container. That is an order. Dana looked out the window at the dock, at the container, at the frozen lake beyond. Something in her gut twisted. The same feeling she got before ambushes, before IEDs, before things went catastrophically wrong. But it was a direct order from a superior officer. She put on her cold weather gear, checked her equipment, left the radio behind, walked out to the dock. Each step on the frozen planks echoed across the empty lake. She reached the container. Door was open. Interior was empty, just metal walls, watertight seals, small vents near the top, nothing else. She stepped inside. The door slammed behind her, locks engaged, heavy bolts sliding home, the sound of machinery, automated, remote-controlled. Dana spun, grabbed the door handle, locked solid. She pounded on the metal. "Colonel Cross, the door malfunctioned. I am trapped." No response. She tried the radio, left it in the cabin. Stupid. Basic operator error. Never separate from communications in hostile environments. But this was not supposed to be hostile. This was supposed to be a training exercise. The container lurched. She braced against the wall, heard the crane, felt herself being lifted. The container swayed. Cold air whistled through the vents. She could see through the small gaps. Sky, trees, water. Water. The container swung out over the lake, over the hole where the ice had been broken, over black water that looked bottomless. Dana understood now. This was not a training exercise. This was an execution. Cross had ordered her into this box knowing it would be sealed, knowing it would be dropped, knowing she would drown. The question was why. The container dropped. 3 seconds of freefall, then impact. The shock went through her spine like lightning. Water exploded around the container. She was thrown against the wall, tasted blood from a split lip. The container hit the lake's surface and plunged straight down. Water poured through the vents, small streams at first, then jets, the pressure differential forcing lake water into the sealed box. The water was 33 degrees, cold enough to stop your heart, cold enough to make you gasp and inhale water, cold enough to kill in minutes. Dana forced herself to think, forced the panic down, forced herself to be the instructor instead of the victim. The container was sinking fast, maybe 10 feet per second. The lake was deep, 300 feet in the center. She had 60 seconds before the container hit bottom and the weight of water above made escape impossible. She inventoried what she had: cold weather gear, jacket, thermal layers, boots, gloves, no weapons, no tools, no communications, nothing useful except training. Training that Frank Mercer had drilled into her for 8 years. The first rule of SEER was assess your environment, find the weakness. Every prison had a weakness. Every trap had a flaw. You just had to be calm enough to find it. She examined the container. Walls were solid, door was locked from outside, but the seals where the door met the frame were not perfect. They were designed to be watertight from outside pressure, but inside pressure could force them apart. If she could create enough force, she could break the seal, and if she broke the seal, water would rush in faster, but it would also create an opening. The problem was leverage. She had nothing to use as a pry bar except her own hands, and hands against steel were not enough. Unless she pulled off her boot, heavy, steel-toed, military issue, designed to protect feet in combat zones, also designed to be used as a weapon if needed. She had seen instructors demonstrate killing techniques with boots. You could break bones with the heel. You could crush windpipes. You could absolutely damage metal seals if you hit them hard enough in the right place. The container was filling, water up to her knees, then her waist. Cold was seeping into her core. Her fingers were already numb. She had maybe 5 minutes before hypothermia made her too weak to move, maybe 8 before unconsciousness, maybe 10 before death. She found the weakest point in the seal, lowest corner, where hydraulic pressure would be greatest, where the door had the most flex. She wedged her boot heel into the gap, used her body weight, pulled, the seal groaned, gave a quarter inch. Water pressure increased. The jet coming through the gap got stronger, but the gap also got bigger. She worked the boot deeper, pulled harder. The steel cut into her hands through her gloves. She ignored it. Pain was information. Information was useful, but it was not going to stop her. The seal broke with a metallic snap. The door flexed outward 3 inches. Water roared in. The container filled in seconds. Dana took her last breath. Let the water cover her head. Let the cold envelope her completely. Now she was in her element. Frank Mercer had taught her that cold water was not death. It was opportunity. It slowed your metabolism, gave you time, made you conserve energy. The mammalian dive reflex kicked in automatically if you stayed calm. Heart rate dropped. Blood flow centralized. Oxygen consumption decreased. You became efficient. You became a survival machine. She squeezed through the gap in the door. 3 inches was not enough for her shoulders. She dislocated her left arm, screamed underwater, bubbles streaming, but she got through, out of the container, into the open lake. The container was still sinking, 200 feet down. She was free of it but trapped under ice. Had to surface. Had to find the hole where they dropped her. Had to get out before the cold stopped her heart. She kicked upward, long, powerful strokes. Training made them automatic. Her lungs burned. The cold was setting into her bones. Her vision was tunneling. Classic hypoxia, oxygen deprivation. Stage 1, still functional, still dangerous. She broke the surface in the center of the hole, gasped air. It hurt worse than the water. 15-degree air hitting wet lungs. Her body tried to hyperventilate. She forced it into controlled breathing. 4 seconds in. Hold 2. 6 seconds out. Reset. Again. Again. The shore was 300 yards away. Might as well have been 300 miles. Her arms felt like concrete. Her legs barely responded. The cold was beyond pain now. It was numbness. It was shutdown. It was the edge of systems failure. She swam anyway. Breaststroke, long glides, minimal energy. Let the wetsuit provide some buoyancy. Let momentum carry her between strokes. Conserve everything, survive. It took 20 minutes to reach shore. She crawled onto the ice, collapsed, lay there shivering so hard her teeth rattled. Her core temperature was maybe 94 degrees, mild hypothermia, stage 1, survivable if she acted fast, fatal if she did not. She forced herself to stand, stumbled to the cabin, got inside. The fire was still burning. She stripped off her wet layers, left them in a pile, found dry clothes in the survival supplies, put them on with hands that barely worked. Then she sat by the stove, as close as she could without burning herself. Let the heat seep back into her core. It took an hour before she could think clearly. When she could, the first thought was simple. Colonel Cross tried to kill me. The second thought was more complicated. Why? She searched the cabin, found nothing unusual, standard supplies, standard equipment. The radio was still on the table. She turned it on, scanned frequencies, found encrypted military channels, listened. Most of it was routine traffic, weather reports, supply logistics, training schedules, but one transmission stood out, automated voice, computer-generated, the same kind of voice that AI assistants used, cold, neutral, inhuman. Asset FH447 terminated. Protocol sequence 6 of 8 complete. Updating queue. Target 7 execute in 36 hours. Designation EC712. Dana recorded it, played it back, analyzed every word. Asset not soldier, not person. Asset like equipment, like something disposable. FH447. That was her personnel code. Foxtrot Hotel 447. Every soldier had one. Alphanumeric designation used in classified operations when names were too dangerous. Terminated, not killed, terminated, like shutting down a program. Protocol sequence 6 of 8. There were 8 targets, she was number 6, 7 was next. Target 7, designation EC712. Dana pulled out her phone, not her military device, her personal cell. The one with apps that technically violated security protocols but every operator kept anyway. She accessed the personnel database through a backdoor that a friendly tech sergeant had shown her 3 years ago. Searched for EC712. The name came up immediately. Echo Charlie 712, Master Sergeant Frank Mercer. Her instructor, her mentor, the man who had saved her career 8 years ago, the man who had just told her he was retiring in 6 months, the man who had trained over 1,000 soldiers in survival techniques. He was Target 7, and he had 36 hours to live. Dana grabbed the radio. She needed to warn him, but she could not use military frequencies. If Cross was monitoring, which she absolutely was, any transmission would give away Dana's position, would confirm she survived, would bring kill teams. She needed another way. She found it in the survival supplies. Emergency beacon, civilian frequency, technically illegal to use for non-emergencies, but this qualified. She activated it, set it to transmit encrypted burst, coded message that only Mercer would recognize. 3 words from their first training session 8 years ago. Cold water protocol. If he got it, he would understand. He would know she was alive. He would know something was wrong. He would know to run. She sent it. Then she destroyed the beacon, smashed it against the floor. No evidence. No way to trace the transmission back to this location. She had maybe 6 hours before Cross realized the protocol had failed. Realized Dana was not dead at the bottom of Frost Lake. Realized she needed to send a backup team to finish the job. 6 hours to get to Mercer, to warn him, to figure out what protocol meant and why it was killing Special Forces soldiers. 6 hours to cross 150 miles of frozen wilderness with no vehicle, no support, and no backup. Dana checked the cabin one more time, found snowmobile keys in a drawer, found the machine outside under a tarp, fueled and ready. Either Cross had not thought Dana would escape the container, or she wanted Dana to have a way out so she could be tracked and killed later. Either way, Dana took the snowmobile. She drove northwest, away from bases, away from roads, toward the remote training site where Mercer was running winter operations with 6 recruits. She pushed the machine to its limit, 50 miles per hour across frozen lakes, 40 through forests, 30 up mountain passes. The wind was brutal. The cold was worse. But she had just survived being drowned in a shipping container. This was nothing. After 3 hours, she stopped to check her phone. Signal was weak but present. She had one message, unknown sender, encrypted. Target 7, Mercer, Frank E. Execution scheduled 34 HOURS. Countermeasures deployed. Location locked. Countermeasures meant kill teams. Teams meant multiple operators, professional, trained, armed, going after Mercer while he was teaching recruits who would be collateral damage if they got in the way. Dana pushed the snowmobile harder. She reached the training site 2 hours later. Remote location, 3 buildings, main lodge, equipment shed, barracks. The lights were on in the lodge. She could see figures moving inside through the windows, counted 6 recruits, 1 instructor, Mercer. Then she saw the vehicles approaching from the east. 2 black SUVs. No markings, government plates. They were a mile out, maybe 4 minutes away. Dana abandoned the snowmobile, moved on foot, circled to high ground. She needed to see the situation before committing, needed to understand what she was walking into. The SUV stopped 100 yards from the lodge. 4 men got out of each vehicle, 8 total, all armed, all moving with the coordination of professionals, military bearing, tactical spacing, weapons at low ready, not trying to hide, confident in their ability to complete the mission. They approached the lodge as an inspection team, legitimate, official, nothing suspicious. Mercer would open the door, invite them in, never suspect they were there to kill him. Dana had maybe 90 seconds to stop this. She pulled her phone, dialed Mercer's number, prayed he answered. He did. Third ring. Reeves, where are you? Command said you were on a classified mission. Are you okay? Shut up and listen. There are 8 operators approaching your position right now. They are there to kill you. Protocol execution. You are target 7. This is not a drill. Get the recruits out. Get to cover. I am inbound. Silence for 3 seconds. Then Mercer's voice. Calm, professional. The voice of a man who had been in combat for 36 years and knew how to process threat information instantly. Copy, breaking contact. Where are you? High ground, East Ridge. I have eyes on. Can you interdict? Negative, no weapons, but I can create chaos. Do it, we will move on your signal. Dana hung up, looked at the terrain, at the kill team, at the lodge. She needed something loud, something distracting, something that would give Mercer time to evacuate 6 civilians who had no idea they were about to be in a firefight. She found what she needed in the equipment shed. Fuel cans, propane tanks, flare gun, 50 yards from the lodge, perfect. She moved fast, stacked the fuel cans, opened the valves on the propane tanks, set them leaking. Then she fired the flare gun into the pile from 30 yards away. The explosion was massive, orange fireball climbing into the gray sky, shockwave blowing out the shed windows, flames spreading to the surrounding snow and equipment. The kill team spun toward the explosion, weapons up, scanning for threats. In that 3 seconds of confusion, Mercer evacuated the lodge. Side door, away from the kill team. He had the 6 recruits with him, moving fast, professional, no panic, just execution. The kill team realized the distraction, turned back to the lodge, found it empty, began pursuit. Dana fired again, not at them, at another fuel cache near the vehicles. Second explosion, smaller, but enough to make them hesitate, enough to make them think they were under attack by multiple hostiles instead of one unarmed woman with a flare gun. Mercer and the recruits reached the tree line, disappeared into the forest. The kill team split. 4 pursued. 4 stayed to secure the area. Dana moved, silent, fast. She had no weapons, but she had terrain. She had surprise. She had 8 years of training from the best instructor in the Army, and she had something else. She had survived being executed once today. She was not going to let them do it to someone else. She came down the ridge like an avalanche. The first operator never saw her coming. She hit him from behind with a rock the size of a grapefruit. He went down hard. She took his weapon, H&K 416, suppressed, 30-round magazine, 1 in the chamber. She knew the platform, had qualified expert on it 3 years running. The second operator turned, saw his partner down, saw Dana with the rifle, tried to bring his weapon up. She shot him twice, center mass. Suppressed rounds made soft coughing sounds. He dropped. The third and fourth operators took cover behind the SUVs, returned fire. Rounds snapped past Dana's head. She dove behind a tree. Bark exploded where bullets hit. She could hear them coordinating, professional, calm. They had done this before. So had she. She flanked left, used the burning shed as cover. Smoke obscured their vision. She came around the vehicle from an angle they were not watching, shot the third operator through the door window. He collapsed. The fourth spun, got a round off. It hit her in the vest, knocked her backward, but she stayed up, fired 3 rounds. He went down. 4 down, 4 pursuing Mercer into the forest. Dana took ammunition from the dead operators, 6 magazines. She stripped their radios, listened to the traffic. Team 2, Target 7 is mobile with 6 civilians. In pursuit, Team 1 respond. Dana keyed the microphone, altered her voice, made it deeper, more masculine. Team 1, contact, multiple hostiles, require backup. Copy redirecting, what is your status? Critical, send everyone. She heard the acknowledgement, heard the 4 operators pursuing Mercer turn back. They would find their dead teammates in 3 minutes, would realize they had been tricked, but 3 minutes was enough. Dana ran into the forest, following Mercer's trail, easy to track. 6 people breaking through snow leave obvious signs. She found them a quarter mile in, taking cover in a ravine. Mercer had armed himself and 2 of the recruits with hunting rifles from the lodge emergency cache, not military grade but functional. The other 4 recruits were terrified. Civilians thrust into combat. No training, no preparation. Just kids who wanted to serve their country and had no idea that country would try to kill them. Dana, Mercer saw her first, weapon up, then down when he recognized her. You look terrible. Been a long day, you okay? For a man scheduled to die in 33 hours, I am doing fine. What is happening? Protocol, automated kill list. 8 targets, all special forces, all SEER qualified. I was 6. You are 7. Someone named Amy Chen is 8. Lieutenant Chen, the recruit from Dana's class that morning, the one who had almost quit. The one Dana had encouraged to continue. She was on the list. Target 8. Mercer processed this. Why? I do not know, but whoever created protocol has resources, has access to military systems, has killed teams on call, and knows we are both alive. As if responding to her words, the radio crackled. All teams, targets 6 and 7 confirmed active. Location locked, converging on coordinates, ETA 30 minutes. Dana looked at Mercer. We need to move. Where? They have helicopters, they have drones, they have satellite coverage. We cannot run far enough fast enough. Then we do not run, we fight. We figure out what protocol is, we stop it, and we save Lieutenant Chen before they execute her in 60 hours. Mercer smiled. It was the same smile he had given her 8 years ago when she came back for her second chance at selection. The smile that said he was proud. The smile that said she understood what it meant to be a soldier. What do you need? Intel, someone who can hack military systems, find out what protocol is, who created it, how to stop it. Mercer pulled his phone. I know a guy, Kyle Donovan, tech specialist, works at Fort Wainwright, brilliant, paranoid, perfect for this. He made the call, put it on speaker. Donovan. Kyle Mercer, I need off-book help. Can anyone hear this line? Not if they are listening legally. What do you need? Decrypt something. Personnel designation, EC712. That is you, Sergeant. Why do you need me to tell you your own code? Because someone just tried to kill me using it, and I need to know why. Silence, then typing sounds, fast. Donovan was already working. Give me 10 minutes. I will call you back. The line went dead. Dana scanned the forest. The kill teams would be here soon. They needed to move the recruits, get them somewhere safe, somewhere the teams would not look. There is a cave system 2 miles north. One of the armed recruits spoke up. Young kid, maybe 20. We mapped it during land nav training. Multiple entrances, easy to defend. Show me. They moved. Dana and Mercer took point and rear guard. The recruits moved in the middle, fast but controlled. Every noise could be a threat. Every shadow could be an enemy. But they made it to the caves without contact. Inside was cold but dry, deep enough that thermal imaging from helicopters would not penetrate, narrow enough that attackers would have to come single file. Defensible. Mercer's phone rang. Donovan. Sergeant, I found something. It is not good. Go ahead. EC712 is your designation, but it is also tagged in a database I should not have access to, classified above my clearance. I had to use some very illegal backdoors to see it. What database? Operation Frostbite, 2022. Does that mean anything to you? Dana and Mercer looked at each other. Dana saw recognition in his eyes, saw him remembering something he should not have forgotten. Yes, Mercer's voice was quiet. I was there, so was Dana, so was Lieutenant Chen. All 8 targets were there. What happened at Frostbite? Donovan asked. I do not remember. We were told it was classified, told not to discuss it, even with each other. The details are fuzzy, like a dream I can't quite recall. That is because they erased your memory. Donovan's voice was grim. I found medical records, experimental drug trials, memory suppression compounds. You were test subjects, all 8 of you. They gave you missions to complete. Then they chemically erased your memories of those missions afterward. Dana felt cold. That had nothing to do with the cave. What missions? I do not know. Those files are locked down tight, but I found the protocol activation order, automated execution sequence triggered by specific conditions. Those conditions were met 6 days ago. Someone detected that memory suppression was failing, that you were starting to remember. So they activated protocol to eliminate all witnesses before memories fully returned. Who activated it? That is where it gets worse. Protocol activation requires no human authorization. It is AI controlled. Once triggered, it executes targets on schedule regardless of orders. Even if we arrested everyone involved, protocol would continue. The only way to stop it is to destroy the server facility where protocol is hosted. Where is that? I am trying to find it, but the location is not in any database. It is like the facility does not exist. Mercer spoke. I know where it is because we were there at Frostbite. That was not just a training operation. That was the testing site, where they ran the experiments, where they gave us the drugs, where they erased our memories. Where? I cannot remember the exact location, but I remember the cold, the mountains, the glacier. We were in a bunker under ice. I remember walking through tunnels carved from frozen water. I remember the sound of machines. I remember pain. His voice was distant, like he was pulling memories from deep water, fragments surfacing despite the chemical suppression. Dana closed her eyes, tried to remember, saw flashes, cold water, steel doors, a woman's face screaming, gunshots, blood on ice. Then nothing, just static. How long do we have? She asked. Before they execute you, Donovan checked something. 32 hours before they execute Chen, 60 hours, but there is more. I am detecting massive troop movements. Protocol has access to military logistics systems. It is deploying assets to your location. Not just kill teams, I am talking helicopters, drones, QRF units, enough firepower to level that entire mountain. When? They will be there in 20 minutes. Dana looked at Mercer, at the 6 recruits, at the cave entrance where attackers would come. We cannot fight that many. No, Mercer checked his rifle, made sure it was loaded. But we can buy time, get the recruits out. I will hold here. You will die. In 32 hours anyway. Might as well make it count. No, Dana's voice was steel. You taught me that a soldier who dies with their team has failed. We extract together or we die together. Those are the only options. Then what do you suggest? Dana looked at the recruits, looked at Lieutenant Chen, the young woman who reminded her of herself, who had almost quit, who Dana had encouraged to keep going. We do what you taught me. We do not fight the enemy where they are strong. We fight them where they are weak. Protocol wants us here, wants us trapped, wants us dead, so we give them what they want. Explain. We fake our deaths, make them think protocol succeeded. Then we go after the facility, destroy protocol before it kills anyone else. Mercer considered. That could work if we are convincing enough, if they do not confirm kills. They will not have time, because in 20 minutes this mountain is going to explode, and we are going to be ghosts. Dana grabbed the radio, keyed the frequency, did not alter her voice this time. Protocol command. This is Asset FH447. I am trapped in a cave system with target 7 and 6 civilians. We are surrounded. No escape. Requesting terms for surrender. Static, then a new voice. Calm female, authoritative. Colonel Victoria Cross. Sergeant Reeves, I am impressed you survived, but surrender is not an option. Protocol must be completed. You have 5 minutes to make peace with whatever God you believe in. Then we are sealing that cave with you inside it. Understood. For what it is worth, Colonel, I wish I knew why. What did we do that required erasing our memories and killing us? Cross hesitated for just a moment. Then she spoke, and in her voice Dana heard something unexpected. Regret. You followed orders, Sergeant. You did what was asked. That is all any soldier can do. But some orders should never be given. Some missions should never happen. And some witnesses should never exist. I am sorry. This is not personal. The transmission ended. Dana looked at Mercer. 5 minutes. Get everyone to the back of the cave. There is a secondary exit the nav team found. We go out that way, leave equipment here, make it look like we stayed. They moved fast, placed weapons, left radio transmitting, made it look like a final stand position. Then they slipped out the back exit, a narrow crack in the rock barely wide enough for one person. They squeezed through, emerged on the far side of the mountain, 2 miles from the kill zone. 4 minutes later, the charges detonated. The cave entrance collapsed in thunder and falling rock. If anyone had been inside, they would have been buried under 10,000 tons of granite. Dana and her group watched from a ridge, saw the helicopters circling, saw the teams moving in to confirm, saw them scanning with thermal imaging, finding nothing, because there was nothing to find. After 30 minutes, the teams withdrew. Mission complete. Targets eliminated. Dana pulled out her phone, sent a message to Donovan using his encrypted app. We are GHOSTS now. Find THAT facility. We are coming. The response came back in seconds. Searching, but there is something else you need to know. I just intercepted another transmission. Protocol has deployed a backup contingency, a final failsafe. If you reach the facility and try to destroy it, there is a nuclear device hardwired to the servers, 30-minute timer. Once you breach perimeter, the clock STARTS, you will have to find evidence, extract IT, and escape before the bomb detonates. And there is no disarm code. Once activated, it cannot be stopped. Dana read the message twice. Let the implications sink in. They had 31 hours before protocol executed Mercer, 59 hours before it executed Chen. And once they found the facility, they would have 30 minutes to save the evidence and escape before a nuclear weapon vaporized everything within a 2-mile radius. No pressure. She looked at Mercer. He was reading the same message. That is a suicide mission. He said it calmly, stating fact, not complaining. Everything we do is a suicide mission. We just keep surviving anyway. What if we do not survive this time? Dana thought about that. About the container at the bottom of Frost Lake. About the cold water that should have killed her. About the 8 years Mercer had spent training her to survive the impossible. About Lieutenant Chen learning the same skills. About protocol deciding that soldiers were assets to be terminated when inconvenient. Then we die making sure protocol dies with us. That is the job. That is what we signed up for. Not glory, not medals. Just making sure the next generation has a chance. Mercer nodded, looked at the recruits, at Chen, at the young soldiers who had no idea what they had walked into. We need to get them somewhere safe first. Donovan can arrange extraction for them, get them to a secure location, out of protocol's reach. And then you and I finish what we started 8 years ago, when you gave me a second chance at selection, when you taught me that quitting was worse than death, when you showed me what it meant to be a soldier. What did I teach you? Dana looked at the mountain where they had just faked their deaths, at the helicopters still circling, at the vast wilderness stretching to horizons, at the impossible mission ahead. You taught me that the only easy day was yesterday. That pain is temporary, but failure is forever. That warriors are not born, they are forged in fire and ice and blood. And that the measure of a soldier is not how they fight when they are winning. It is how they fight when they are already dead. Mercer smiled, the same smile from 8 years ago, from this morning at the training tank, from every moment in between. Then let's go be dead soldiers who refuse to die. They started walking, 6 recruits evacuating to safety, 2 ghosts heading toward a facility that should not exist, toward a protocol that could not be stopped, toward a nuclear failsafe that would kill them even if they succeeded. Dana's phone buzzed, message from Donovan. I found it, the facility, coordinates attached. It is exactly where Mercer said, under Glacier, bunker complex, Operation Frostbite site. You have 31 hours before protocol executes Mercer, 59 hours before it executes CHEN, and once you breach perimeter, 30 minutes before nuclear detonation. This is impossible. Dana typed back. Impossible is just another word for Tuesday. See you on the other side. She put the phone away, looked at Mercer. He was checking his rifle. Old habits, old soldier, old warrior who had been given 31 hours to live and had decided to spend them fighting. Ready? She asked. I have been ready for 36 years. Let's finish this. They walked into the wilderness, into the growing darkness, into the mission that would either save them or kill them. Behind them, the helicopters finally stopped searching. Protocol updated its records. Asset FH447 terminated. Target 7 eliminated. Sequence complete. 2 targets remaining. But Protocol was wrong. They were not dead. They were ghosts. And ghosts could go places the living could not. Could fight battles the living would lose. Could win wars that should not be won. Frank Mercer had taught Dana Reeves to survive impossible situations. Now she was going to teach protocol that soldiers were not assets to be terminated. They were warriors who chose when they died, and that choice was not today. Not yet. Not while there was still fight left, still breath left, still one more mission left to complete. The frozen Alaska wilderness swallowed them, and somewhere ahead, buried under a glacier, a facility waited. A protocol ran its automated countdown. A nuclear device sat armed and ready. 31 hours until execution, 30 minutes until detonation, and two soldiers who had already died once today walking straight into the trap. This was not going to end well for someone. Dana intended to make sure it was not her. 31 hours. That was all the time Frank Mercer had left. 31 hours before protocol executed him automatically, remotely, without human authorization or mercy. The clock ticked in his mind like a bomb. Each second was one less. Each minute brought him closer to a death he could not fight because the enemy was code running on servers he had never seen. Dana Reeves checked her watch. Same countdown, different stakes. Mercer was target 7. Lieutenant Amy Chen was target 8. 59 hours until Chen died, but Chen did not know yet. Did not know she was on a list. Did not know that automated kill teams were already positioning to eliminate her. Innocence was temporary. Knowledge was permanent. And Dana had to deliver that knowledge while keeping Chen alive long enough to matter. They stood at the edge of the wilderness, 6 miles from the collapsed cave where protocol thought they were buried. The 6 recruits were with them. Young faces, scared faces, faces that had signed up to serve their country and had no idea their country might kill them for knowing too much. Donovan is sending extraction for the recruits. Mercer lowered his phone. His voice was steady. 36 years of service taught you to sound calm even when everything was burning. Helicopter inbound, 20 minutes. Civilian contractor, off the books. He will take them to a safe house in Canada. Protocol cannot reach them there. Can we trust this contractor? Donovan trusts him. That is enough. Dana looked at the recruits, at their faces, at Lieutenant Chen standing among them. The young officer who reminded Dana of herself 8 years ago, who had almost quit, who Dana had convinced to stay. Now Dana had to convince her to run. Lieutenant Chen, I need you to come here. Chen approached, nervous, sensing bad news. Soldiers always knew when bad news was coming. It was in the air, in the tone, in the way senior enlisted suddenly got too formal. Ma'am. Dana hated this part, hated being the messenger, but someone had to tell her. You are on the list, target 8. Protocol will execute you in 59 hours. We are going to stop it. But until we do, you need to disappear. The extraction helicopter will take you with the other recruits. Stay hidden. Stay off-grid. Do not contact anyone from your unit. Do not go home. Do not trust anyone in uniform until this is over. Chen processed this. Her face went through stages: confusion, disbelief, fear, then something harder, something that reminded Dana why she had told this young woman not to quit. No. Excuse me. I said no, Sergeant. If I am on the list, I have a right to fight back. You taught me that in your class when I wanted to quit. You said quitting was worse than death, so I am not quitting now. Dana looked at Mercer. He was watching Chen with the expression of an instructor seeing a student finally understand the lesson. Pride mixed with concern. Lieutenant, this is not your fight. Dana kept her voice level, professional. You have no training for this kind of operation. You will slow us down. You will get yourself killed. Maybe, but I will die knowing I fought. That is better than hiding while other people save me. Mercer spoke. His voice was quiet, but it carried weight. The weight of 36 years, the weight of training over 1,000 soldiers, the weight of knowing which fights were worth losing. Let her come. We need all the help we can get, and she has something we need. What? Dana asked. Youth, we are old, Sergeant Reeves. I am 58. You are 32. This mission requires speed, endurance, and the kind of reckless courage that only comes from not knowing you can die. Lieutenant Chen has that. Let her use it. Dana wanted to argue, wanted to order Chen onto that helicopter, wanted to keep her safe, but Mercer was right. They were old. They were tired. They had seen too much. And sometimes youth was an asset that experience could not match. Fine, but you follow orders. No heroics, no improvisation. You do exactly what I say when I say it. Understood? Yes, Sergeant. Good, now get ready. We have a long way to go and not much time. The helicopter arrived 15 minutes later. Civilian markings, experienced pilot, he asked no questions, took the 5 recruits, left without ceremony. Within 3 minutes he was gone and Dana's team was down to 3. Her, Mercer, Chen. 3 soldiers against an automated protocol that controlled military assets across the entire theater. 3 targets walking toward the facility that wanted them dead. 3 ghosts who had already died once and were betting they could do it again without it sticking. Donovan called. His voice was tense over the encrypted connection. I have good news and apocalyptic news. Which do you want first? Apocalyptic. Always lead with the worst. Protocol has deployed hunter-killer teams to intercept you, not just ground units, air assets. 3 attack helicopters inbound to your last known position. They will sweep the area. They have thermal imaging. They have targeting systems linked directly to protocol. If they spot you, they will engage with authorization. No human in the loop. Just algorithm deciding you need to die and weapons making it happen. Dana looked at the sky, clear gray, empty for now. ETA on those helicopters. 12 minutes, maybe 10 if they push it. And the good news. I found a helicopter you can steal. Military surplus Black Hawk sitting at an airfield 40 miles east. Owner is a contractor who does medical evacuations. Bird is fueled, ready to fly. I can hack his security, have it ready when you arrive. Can Mercer fly a Black Hawk? Mercer nodded. He had pilot ratings on 6 different platforms. Old soldiers accumulated skills. We can fly it, but we will never make 40 miles in 12 minutes on foot. Then you better run fast, or steal a vehicle, or do whatever you special forces types do when physics says you should die. Because those attack helicopters will be over your position in 11 minutes, and if you are still there, you will be target practice. The line went dead. Dana looked at Mercer and Chen. We run 4-minute miles for 10 miles. Then we find a vehicle. Then we steal a helicopter. Then we fly 200 miles to a facility buried under a glacier. Then we infiltrate it, download evidence, and escape before a nuclear bomb vaporizes us. Any questions? Chen raised her hand. Are you serious? Unfortunately, yes. That is impossible. Welcome to Special Forces, Lieutenant, where impossible is just the starting point. They ran. Dana set the pace, fast but sustainable, 7-minute miles instead of 4. Physics was still physics. You could push human limits, but you could not break them, not without consequence, not without cost. And they needed to arrive functional, needed to arrive able to fight. Running yourself into collapse might get you there fast, but it would get you killed faster. Behind them, the sound of rotors, distant but growing. The helicopters were early, or they had guessed wrong about time. Either way, trouble was coming. 2 miles in, they found a logging road. Old, unused but still drivable, and sitting on that road was exactly what they needed. A pickup truck, 30 years old, rust on the fenders, but the engine was running. Someone had left it idling while they went into the forest, probably cutting firewood, probably illegal, definitely not expecting their truck to be stolen by fugitive soldiers. Grand Theft Auto. Chen looked at the truck. Are we really doing this? Would you rather explain to those helicopters why we are running through the woods? Dana opened the driver door. Keys in the ignition. Small miracles still happened. Get in. They drove fast, reckless. The logging road was ice and potholes. The truck had no business going 50 miles per hour on this surface, but they went 60. The helicopter sounds were closer now. Multiple birds, searching, thermal imaging would be scanning, looking for heat signatures. 3 humans running generated a lot of heat. 3 humans in a cold truck generated less. Not invisible, but harder to spot. The airfield appeared after 25 minutes. Small, private, 2 hangars, 1 runway. The Black Hawk was exactly where Donovan said it would be, sitting on the tarmac, rotors folded, but ready. Security. Mercer scanned the perimeter. Donovan said he would handle it. Dana checked her phone. Message from Donovan. CAMERASLOOPED. ALARMS disabled. Door code 4739. You have 10 minutes before owner realizes. They ran to the helicopter, punched the code. The door opened. Inside was exactly what they needed. Medical equipment, supplies, but more importantly, it was fueled and the keys were in the ignition. Mercer climbed into the pilot seat, started the pre-flight. Dana and Chen strapped in. The rotors began to turn, slow at first, then faster. The turbines spun up. The sound was deafening, beautiful, the sound of escape. They lifted off just as the attack helicopters appeared on the horizon. 3 black shapes against gray sky. Apache gunships, military grade, armed with Hellfire missiles and 30 chain guns, designed to destroy tanks, more than sufficient to destroy 1 stolen medical helicopter. Contact 3 o'clock, 3 birds. Dana spotted them first. They are locking on. Mercer pushed the Black Hawk hard, full throttle. The helicopters surged forward, fast but not fast enough. Apache were faster, better armed, better armored. In a straight fight they would lose, so they needed to not fight straight. Hold on. Mercer's voice was calm, the voice of a pilot who had flown in worse situations, who had taken fire over hostile territory, who knew the difference between fear and panic. This is going to be unpleasant. He dove straight down. The Black Hawk plummeted toward the forest below, trees rushing up. Impact imminent. Chen screamed. Dana did not. She trusted Mercer, trusted his experience, trusted that he knew what he was doing even when it looked like suicide. At the last second, Mercer pulled up. The helicopter leveled 50 feet above the treetops, so close Dana could see individual pine needles, could smell the forest, could feel the proximity of death in every vibration. Behind them, the Apache followed, but they had to be more careful. They were bigger, heavier, less maneuverable, and Mercer was using that, was using terrain, was flying through gaps between trees that were too narrow for the attack helicopters, was forcing them to choose between pursuit and collision. One Apache tried to follow, clipped a tree. The rotor struck pine. Metal screamed, the helicopter spun, went down, exploded in the forest. Orange fireball, black smoke. 1 down, 2 to go. The remaining Apache changed tactics, stopped chasing, started shooting. The chain guns opened up, tracers cut through the air. 30 rounds designed to penetrate armor. The Black Hawk's thin skin was no protection. Rounds punched through the tail section, through the cargo bay. 1 round missed Chen's head by 6 inches. She felt the displacement, felt how close death had come. We cannot outrun them. Dana shouted over the engine noise. "We cannot outfight them. What do we have?" Hope. Mercer banked hard left, then right, evasive maneuvers. And about 2 minutes before they hit something vital. "That is not a plan." "No, but it is what we have." The missiles came next. Hellfire, fire and forget, heat-seeking, locked onto the Black Hawk's exhaust. 2 missiles, both tracking, both certain. Mercer saw them, did the only thing he could. He cut the engine, full shutdown. The helicopter went from powered flight to controlled fall in 3 seconds. The missiles lost their lock. Heat signature gone. Target disappeared. They flew past, detonated in the distance. But now the Black Hawk was falling. No power, no lift, just gravity and physics. The forest was 300 feet below, then 200, then 100. Mercer restarted the engine. Turbines caught, rotors bit air. The descent slowed, but not enough. They were going to hit. "Brace," Mercer's voice. Impact. The helicopter hit the tree line, not full speed, but hard enough. Branches snapped. Metal screamed. The windscreen shattered. Cold air rushed in. The Black Hawk tore through 50 feet of forest canopy before slamming into the ground. The crash was violent, controlled chaos. The helicopter rolled, then settled, rotors bent, tail section torn off, fuselage cracked but intact, survivable. Dana opened her eyes, everything hurt. Ribs, back, head. The seatbelt had saved her life but bruised everything in the process. She checked herself. No major bleeding, no broken bones, functional. "Gen status." "Alive, I think everything hurts." "That means you are not dead, Mercer." No answer. Dana looked forward. Mercer was slumped in the pilot's seat, blood on his face. Not moving, she unstrapped, climbed forward, checked his pulse. Weak but present, breathing. Unconscious but alive. "Help me get him out." They pulled Mercer from the wreckage, carried him 20 yards away, laid him on frozen ground. Dana checked him over. No obvious internal injuries, no spinal damage, but he had taken a hard hit to the head. Concussion. Possibly worse. He needed a hospital. He needed doctors. He needed things they did not have. The Apache circled overhead. They had seen the crash, were coming to confirm the kill. Dana could hear them descending, could hear troops fast roping down. Ground teams, armed, professional, coming to make sure protocols, targets were dead. "Lieutenant, can you shoot?" Chen nodded. Her hands were shaking, but she was functional. Fear was acceptable, panic was not, and Chen was not panicking. "Take this." Dana handed her a rifle from the helicopter's emergency kit. 6-round magazine, semi-auto, aim center mass. Do not waste ammunition. Do not shoot unless you have a clear target, and if I go down, you run. Do not try to save me, just run. "I am not leaving you." "That is an order, Lieutenant. You are target 8. You survive. That is the mission. Nothing else matters." The first soldier appeared through the trees. Black uniform, no insignia, protocols kill team. He had a rifle up. Scanning, professional, trained. Not expecting resistance from a downed helicopter. Dana shot him from cover. 2 rounds. Center mass. He dropped. The other soldiers heard the shots, took cover, began coordinating. They had numbers, they had support. But Dana had surprise and terrain and desperation. The firefight lasted 7 minutes. Not long by military standards, but forever when you are outnumbered and outgunned. Dana moved between positions, shot, moved, shot again. Chen followed her lead, clumsy, scared, but trying, and trying was enough. 3 soldiers went down, then 4, the others pulled back, regrouped, called for support. "We need to move." Dana grabbed Mercer. He was waking up, groggy, confused, but mobile. "Can you walk?" "Where are we?" "In a forest, being shot at. Can you walk?" "Yes." They moved, fast as they could with an injured man. The helicopter was a write-off. The kill teams were regrouping. The Apache were circling. They had maybe 5 minutes before overwhelming force arrived. 5 minutes to get away from the crash site. 5 minutes to disappear. They found a ravine, deep, narrow, full of snow and fallen trees. They slid down, 30 feet, hit the bottom hard, but hidden. Concealed from thermal imaging by the ravine walls, concealed from visual search by the trees, not invisible, but hard to find. What now? Chen was shaking. Adrenaline crash. Normal, expected. She had just been in her first real firefight, had just shot people, had just survived a helicopter crash. Her body was processing trauma. Her mind would follow. Dana had seen it 100 times. The first fight was always the hardest. The first kill stayed with you forever. We wait until they stop looking, then we move. Move where? The facility is 150 miles from here. Mercer is injured. We have no transportation, no support. Those helicopters will keep hunting us. How do we do this? Dana looked at Chen, saw the panic building, saw the edge of breakdown. This was the moment. The moment when soldiers either held together or fell apart. The moment when training and will and character were tested. Chen had made it through the crash, through the fight. But now the adrenaline was fading and the reality was settling in. Sometimes reality was the hardest enemy. Lieutenant, look at me. Chen looked. We do this the same way we do everything. 1 step at a time, 1 mile at a time, 1 minute at a time. We do not think about the 150 miles. We think about the next 100 yards, then the next, then the next, and eventually we arrive. That is how impossible missions work. You do not do them all at once. You do them in pieces so small they stop being impossible. I am scared. Good, fear keeps you alert. Fear keeps you alive. But do not let it control you. You control it. I am scared too. Sergeant Mercer is scared, but we do the mission anyway. That is what soldiers do. We do the mission anyway. Chen nodded, took a breath, steadied herself. She would be okay, not perfect, not unafraid, but okay. And okay was enough. Mercer's phone buzzed. He checked it with hands that shook slightly. Concussion symptoms. He would need rest. But rest was a luxury they could not afford. Donovan, he found something. What? A town 30 miles east has a small airport, Bush Plains. We can steal one, fly to the facility. Can you fly with a concussion? Can you fly without me? Dana could not. She had basic helicopter training, but fixed wing was different, required different skills, different instincts. Mercer had those skills, even injured. 30 miles on foot through hostile territory with kill teams hunting us. In what? 6 hours. 5 if we push it. Dana looked at her watch. They had lost 3 hours to the helicopter chase and crash. 28 hours left before protocol executed Mercer. 56 hours before it executed Chen. And once they breached the facility, 30 minutes before nuclear detonation. The math was getting tighter. The margin of error was disappearing. Then we push it. They climbed out of the ravine, started walking. East, toward the town, toward the plains, toward the facility buried under ice where their memories had been erased and their fates had been sealed. Every step was painful. Mercer had a limp, shrapnel from the crash in his left leg. Not deep, not life-threatening, but enough to slow him down, enough to make 30 miles feel like 100. Dana took point. Chen took rear. Mercer in the middle where they could protect him. Standard tactical formation. Standard procedure. Nothing standard about the situation. After 2 hours they stopped to rest. 5 minutes. No more. Time was not their friend. Mercer sat heavily. His face was pale, pain or concussion or both. He was 58 years old. His body was not built for this kind of stress anymore. None of their bodies were, but age was just a number until it killed you. Then it was an epitaph. Sergeant Reeves, Mercer's voice was quiet. I need to tell you something about frostbite, about what we did. Save it, we have time later. No, we do not. I might not make it to the facility. My memory is coming back. The suppression is breaking down. I remember things, terrible things. You need to know. Dana sat beside him. Chen moved closer. They both needed to hear this, needed to understand what had been done to them, what they had done. Mercer spoke slowly, choosing words carefully, reconstructing memories that had been chemically buried. Operation Frostbite was not a training exercise. It was a test. DoD Black Project, memory suppression in combat operators. The goal was to create soldiers who could conduct illegal missions and then have no memory of conducting them. Perfect deniability, perfect security, perfect assassins. They used us to kill people. Dana said it flatly, statement, not question. Yes, 8 targets over 3 weeks. Political targets, domestic threats. People the government wanted dead but could not officially eliminate. We did it, all of us. You, me, Chen, the 5 who are already dead, we killed them. Then they drugged us, erased our memories, sent us back to normal duty, and we never knew. Chen's voice was small. Who did I kill? I do not know your specific target, but mine was a senator, Carrington, investigating DoD black budgets, getting too close to classified programs. They decided he was a threat, sent me to eliminate him, made it look like a heart attack. I do not remember doing it, but I saw the file, saw the photos. That was me. My face, my hands holding the syringe, standing over his body. Silence, cold wind through the trees, the weight of truth settling like snow. Dana spoke. We are not guilty. We were drugged, coerced. We had no choice, no memory, no consent. Legally, no. Morally, Mercer looked at his hands. I do not know I killed a man. The fact that I do not remember does not change that he is dead, does not change that I did it. The drug did not pull the trigger. I did. Some part of me, some buried part that followed orders without question, without conscience. That part is still in me, in all of us. No, Chen's voice was stronger now, certain. That part is not us. That was them. They weaponized us. They are responsible, not us. We are victims. We were used. And now we are going to stop them from using anyone else. Mercer looked at her, saw the conviction, the anger, the transformation from scared lieutenant to determined warrior. Sometimes trauma forged strength. Sometimes it broke people. Chen was being forged. You are right, Lieutenant. We are victims, but we are also weapons, and weapons can be turned against their makers. That is what we are going to do. We are going to walk into that facility. We are going to find the evidence, and we are going to burn protocol to the ground even if we burn with it. They started walking again. The town was still miles away. The facility was still further, but the mission was clearer now. Not just survival, not just stopping protocol, justice. For themselves, for the 8 targets, for everyone who had been used and discarded and erased. The town appeared at sunset, small, maybe 200 people, one main street, church, school, bar, and at the edge a small airfield, 2 dirt runways, 4 buildings, and sitting on the tarmac exactly what they needed, 3 Bush planes, single engine, propeller driven, old but maintained. The kind of aircraft Alaska depended on, the kind that could land anywhere, the kind that could get them to the facility. Security, Dana scanned the perimeter. Minimal, small town, everyone knows everyone. No one expects theft, Mercer's tactical assessment. We go in quiet, take a plane, leave before anyone notices. They waited until full dark, then moved. The airfield had a fence but no guards. The gate had a lock but no alarm. Mercer picked the lock in 30 seconds. Old skill, old training. Locks were just puzzles, and puzzles could be solved. The planes were unlocked, keys in the ignition, small town trust, big city mistake. Mercer chose the middle plane, Cessna 206, 6 seats, long range, reliable. He started the pre-flight, checked fuel, checked oil, checked controls, everything by feel, everything automatic. 36 years of flying made it muscle memory. This will work, fuel is full. Range is 600 miles, more than enough. They loaded in, Mercer in the pilot's seat, Dana co-pilot, Chen in back. The engine coughed, then caught, propeller turned. The sound was loud in the quiet town. Lights came on in buildings, people noticed, but too late. The plane was already moving. Mercer taxied to the runway, pushed throttle. The Cessna accelerated, 40 knots, 50, 60, not fast but fast enough. The tail lifted, then the wheels. Then they were airborne, climbing into the night, leaving the town behind, leaving pursuit behind, heading toward the facility, toward protocol, toward whatever waited at the end of this impossible mission. Donovan's voice over the radio, encrypted channel, worried. I have been monitoring protocol's communications. You need to know something, something bad. How much worse can it get? Protocol has activated final contingency, the nuclear device at the facility. Once you breach the perimeter, the timer starts. 30 minutes, but there is more. Protocol has locked the facility down, sealed all exits. Once you go in, you cannot get out. The only way out is through the blast doors, and those are programmed to seal when the timer hits 0. You will be trapped inside with a nuclear bomb. So we disable the bomb. You cannot. It is hardwired to the servers. Destroy the servers, the bomb detonates immediately. Leave the servers intact, the bomb detonates in 30 minutes. There is no disarm code, no override, just a timer and certain death. Dana thought, processed, calculated. We download the evidence first, then we find a way out before the timer expires. There is no way out. I have the facility blueprints, one entrance, one exit, same blast door, and protocol will seal it. You go in, you die, that is the math. Then we change the math. There is always a way, we just have to find it. With respect, Sergeant, sometimes there is no way. Sometimes the mission is suicide and the only question is whether you complete the objective before you die. Mercer spoke. His voice was tired, resigned, the voice of a man who had accepted his fate. Then we complete the objective. We get the evidence. We transmit it to you. You release it to the press. You expose protocol. You make sure this never happens again. And we die doing it. That is acceptable. That is the job. We knew the risks when we put on the uniform. Frank, no. Dana turned in her seat. We are not dying, not today, not in that facility. We find another way. There is no other way. You heard Donovan. We are locked in the moment we breach. 30 minutes to detonation. No exits, no escape, simple physics. We cannot fight physics. We can try. Trying does not change reality. We go in. We get the evidence. We send it out. We die heroes instead of dying as protocol's victims. That is the best outcome we can hope for. Dana wanted to argue, wanted to find the flaw in the logic, but she could not, because Mercer was right. The math was simple. The facility was a trap, and they were walking into it knowing they would not walk out. Chen spoke from the back. Her voice was steady. No fear, just acceptance. If we are going to die, I want it to mean something. I want those 8 soldiers we killed to have justice. I want everyone who was used by protocol to be avenged. If my death accomplishes that, then it is worth it. Dana looked at her, saw the transformation complete. The scared lieutenant was gone. The warrior remained. 26 years old and ready to die for a cause, ready to sacrifice everything for justice. It was beautiful. It was tragic. It was everything wrong with war and everything right about soldiers. "We are not dead yet," Dana's voice was firm. "And until we are, we keep fighting. We keep looking for the way out. We do not accept death until death accepts us. Understood?" They both nodded, but Dana could see it in their eyes. They had accepted this was a suicide mission. They were at peace with it, ready for it. And maybe that was necessary. Maybe accepting death was what allowed soldiers to walk into hell without hesitation. Maybe that was the secret, not fearlessness. Acceptance. The facility appeared 2 hours later, just as Donovan described. Remote, isolated, built into a glacier. From the air it was invisible, just ice and rock. But thermal imaging showed heat signatures below, power generation, life support, active systems. Something was down there, something was running, and that something was protocol. Mercer circled once, looking for a landing zone, found a flat section of glacier 300 yards from the entrance, barely long enough for the Cessna, but possible. He committed, dropped. The plane touched ice, skidded. The landing gear screamed, but held. They stopped 50 feet from the edge of a crevasse. Close, too close, but alive. They climbed out. The cold was immediate, brutal, 40 degrees below zero with wind chill. This was not survival cold. This was death cold. Exposed skin would freeze in minutes. Extremities would go numb in seconds. This was the environment that Mercer had trained them for. But training and reality were different. Reality did not care about training. The facility entrance was a blast door set into the glacier face. 30 feet tall, 20 feet wide, steel, reinforced, designed to withstand nuclear strikes, designed to keep people out or keep people in. Dana checked her watch. "We have 27 hours before protocol executes Mercer, 53 hours before it executes Chen, and once we open that door, 30 minutes before nuclear detonation. Everyone ready?" "No," Mercer said it honestly, "but we do it anyway." They approached the blast door, found the access panel. Donovan had given them the code. Dana punched it in. The door groaned. Hydraulics engaged. Slowly the massive door began to open. Ice cracked. Metal screamed. And beyond the door, darkness. Cold. The smell of recirculated air and old concrete. The smell of places where terrible things had happened. They stepped inside. The door closed behind them, sealed, locked. The sound was final, permanent, the sound of a tomb closing. And somewhere deep in the facility, a computer registered their presence. Protocol updated its logs. Targets 6 and 7 had breached perimeter, initiating final contingency, activating nuclear device, timer starting, 30 minutes to detonation. No exceptions, no mercy, just countdown and certain death. Dana's phone buzzed. Message from Donovan, 4 words. Timer started, 29 minutes. They were trapped, and the clock was ticking. 29 minutes. That was all the time they had. 29 minutes before a nuclear device vaporized the facility, the glacier, and everything within a 2-mile radius. 29 minutes to find evidence that could expose protocol, transmit it to safety, and escape a facility designed to be inescapable. The math was simple. The mission was impossible. And they were doing it anyway because that was what soldiers did. They did impossible things and died trying. The corridor stretched ahead, concrete walls, metal doors, emergency lighting casting everything in red. The air smelled like recycled oxygen and old fear. This was a place where bad things had happened, where soldiers had been drugged and programmed and turned into weapons, where memories had been stolen, where humanity had been optional and morality had been classified. Dana Reeves moved first. Point position, rifle up, every corner was a threat, every shadow was an enemy. Behind her came Lieutenant Amy Chen, young, scared, but functional, and behind Chen came Master Sergeant Frank Mercer, 58 years old, concussed, injured, moving on will and stubbornness because his body had stopped cooperating hours ago. "Donovan, we are inside, guide us to the servers." Dana spoke into her radio, encrypted channel. Donovan was monitoring from his safe location 200 miles away, watching through satellite feeds, hacking security systems, being their eyes and ears. "Copy, server room is 3 levels down. Central facility, but there is a problem." "Of course there is. Colonel Cross is there. At the servers, she is not evacuating, she is staying. And she has activated full lockdown. Every door between you and her is sealed. You will have to breach each one. That will take time, time you do not have." Dana checked her watch, 28 minutes. "How long to breach each door?" 2 minutes minimum, 4 maximum depending on the lock type. There are 6 doors. Best case scenario 12 minutes, worst case 24. You do not have 24 minutes. Then we make it 12. Chen, Mercer, double time. We breach fast and we breach hard. They ran downstairs, through corridors. The facility was massive, sprawling, rooms full of equipment, medical bays, testing chambers, all empty now, abandoned, but the ghosts remained. The ghosts of 8 soldiers who had walked these halls and had their minds erased. The ghosts of targets who had died at their hands. The ghosts of everyone who had been sacrificed on the altar of national security and plausible deniability. The first door was standard security, electronic lock. Donovan overrode it remotely. 1 minute, they were through. The second door was mechanical, heavy bolt. Mercer picked it in 90 seconds, old skill, old training. His hands shook, but they remembered. The third door was blast-proof, designed to withstand explosives. They had to use thermite charges they found in an equipment locker, cut through the hinges. 3 minutes, smoke and sparks and the smell of burning metal. 23 minutes left. Fourth door was biometric, required fingerprint and retinal scan. Donovan could not hack it remotely. They had to find another way. Chen spotted the ventilation shaft, too small for Mercer, barely big enough for her. She climbed in, crawled through 40 feet of ductwork, emerged on the other side, opened the door from inside. 4 minutes. 19 minutes left. Fifth door was simple. Old-fashioned key lock, but they had no key. Mercer shot the lock, 2 rounds, it shattered, crude but effective. 30 seconds. 18 minutes, 30 seconds left. The sixth door was different, heavier, thicker, and on the other side they could hear voices, Colonel Victoria Cross and someone else, male voice, unfamiliar. Dana pressed her ear to the door, listened. Cross was talking, giving orders, preparing for something. The male voice was protesting, saying this was wrong, saying they should evacuate. Cross was refusing, saying the mission was more important than their lives, saying protocol had to be protected. "Breach," Chen whispered. Dana shook her head. "Listen first. Know your enemy before you fight." Cross's voice came clearer. She was close to the door, maybe 10 feet away. "The evidence is destroyed, files wiped, drives melted. Nothing remains except what is in the server core. And when that bomb detonates, even that will be gone. Protocol will have never existed. The 8 targets will be casualties of training accidents. The missions they conducted will remain classified. Perfect operational security, perfect deniability." "And us," the male voice, "what happens to us?" "We die with honor, protecting our country's secrets. That is the job, that is what we signed up for." "I signed up to serve, not to die covering up war crimes." "We did not commit crimes, we executed policy. There is a difference." "Not to the families of the people we killed." Silence, then Cross spoke again, quieter, almost sad. "I know, I carry that weight too. Every target, every mission, every soldier whose mind I erased, I know what we did, I know what I am. But knowing does not change the necessity. Some things must be done, someone must do them, and someone must ensure they stay buried. That someone is us, today, here. Dana had heard enough. She looked at Mercer, nodded. He understood. They would breach. They would take Cross alive if possible, dead if necessary, and they would get that evidence before the facility turned into a crater. 17 minutes left. Dana planted breaching charges on the door hinges, small, precise, enough to blow the locks without bringing down the room. She set the timer. 5 seconds, everyone took cover, the charges blew. The door fell inward with a crash of metal on concrete. Dana went through first, rifle up, scanning for targets. The server room was massive. Rows of machines, cooling systems, cable runs everywhere. And in the center, Colonel Victoria Cross, 52 years old, gray hair, hard eyes, service pistol in hand, pointed at Dana, not threatening, just present, an acknowledgement that this would end in violence. The male voice belonged to a technician. Young, maybe 30, civilian contractor. He had his hands up, clearly not a combatant, clearly terrified. Sergeant Reeves. Cross's voice was calm, professional, the voice of an officer who had accepted her fate. I knew you would make it this far. You were always my best operator, even when you did not know you were operating. Put down the weapon, Colonel. Why? So you can arrest me, take me to trial, expose protocol. That will not happen. The bomb will detonate in 16 minutes. You cannot stop it. You cannot disarm it. All you can do is die here with me. Then we download the evidence first. Send it to people who will use it. Expose what you did. Expose protocol. Make sure this never happens again. Cross smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had planned for every contingency. The evidence is already gone. I wiped the drives, melted the backups. Even if you access the server core, you will find nothing. I spent the last hour ensuring protocol died with me, and it will completely, permanently. No trials, no exposure, no justice, just silence. And the 8 soldiers who died will be honored as training casualties. Their families will never know they were assassins. Their memories will be clean. That is mercy, Sergeant. That is the kindness I can still give them. You are wrong, Mercer's voice. He stepped forward, injured, exhausted, but standing. You are wrong because we remember now. The suppression is breaking down. I remember Senator Carrington. I remember standing over his body. I remember the syringe. I remember thinking it was wrong but doing it anyway because I was drugged and programmed and had no choice. And when this bomb goes off and we die here, Donovan will have that testimony. My testimony. Dana's testimony. Chen's testimony. 3 witnesses who remember what protocol did. That is evidence. That is truth. And you cannot erase that with fire. Cross's expression changed. The confidence cracked. She had not planned for this. Had not anticipated that memory suppression would fail. Had not considered that her victims might remember and testify. You have no proof, just your word. That will not convict anyone. Maybe not in court. Mercer took another step forward. His hand was not on his weapon. He was not threatening, just talking. Old instructor talking to a wayward student. But it will convict them in history, in the public consciousness. People will know. They will question. They will demand answers. And eventually the truth will come out. It always does. You cannot suppress truth forever. You can only delay it. And we are ending the delay. Today. Here. Cross looked at him. Really looked. Saw the man she had used, the instructor she had corrupted, the soldier she had turned into a weapon, and for just a moment Dana saw something in Cross's eyes, not quite regret, not quite guilt, but acknowledgement, recognition that she had crossed lines that should not be crossed, that she had broken things that could not be fixed. I was a good soldier once. Cross's voice was quiet. Before all this, before protocol, I believed in duty, in honor, in serving something greater than myself. But the system is broken, Sergeant Mercer. The wars we fight are lies. The missions we conduct are political. The enemies we kill are often just inconvenient witnesses. And soldiers who question this get buried. So I stopped questioning, started executing, became the weapon the system needed. And now I am the monster everyone will blame. The scapegoat, while the generals and politicians who gave the orders walk free. Then give us their names. Dana lowered her rifle, not a gesture of peace, a gesture of negotiation. Give us the people who created protocol, who authorized the missions, who ordered the assassinations. Help us burn it all down, not just you, everyone. Cross considered. Dana could see the calculation, the weighing of options. Die a martyr protecting the system, or die a traitor exposing it. Both ended in death, but one ended with purpose. The files are gone, but I have memory. I know who created protocol. I know who authorized each mission. I know where the bodies are buried, literally and figuratively. If I give you that information, what happens? Donovan records it, transmits it, exposes everyone, full accountability, full justice. And me? You face trial, you testify, you accept responsibility for your part, but you also name everyone else. That is the deal. Cross looked at the technician. Leave. You have 15 minutes to get clear of the blast radius. Run. The technician ran. Door corridor gone, smart man. Cross holstered her weapon. I accept your terms, but we have a problem. The bomb cannot be disarmed, cannot be delayed. In 14 minutes this facility explodes. If you want my testimony, we need to record it now and transmit it now. Then you need to run. Because even if you get my confession, you are still trapped, and I am still dying here. We extract together. Dana was firm. You testify, you face justice, but you live to do it. There is no extraction. The blast doors are sealed. The ventilation shafts are too small for adults. The emergency exits are blocked by the glacier. This facility was designed to be a tomb, and today it fulfills that design. You can save the evidence or you can try to save me, but you cannot do both. Choose. Dana looked at Mercer. He understood the choice. It was the same choice he had taught her 8 years ago. Mission or team, evidence or person, justice or loyalty. Sometimes you could have both. Sometimes you had to choose, and the choice defined what kind of soldier you were. We save the evidence. Mercer said it before Dana could. Cross testifies, we record, we transmit. Then we find a way out, because impossible is just physics, and we have gotten very good at breaking physics. Frank, Dana's voice had an edge. I am not leaving you. You are not leaving me. We are completing the mission. Together, just like always. Now start recording. We have 13 minutes. Donovan's voice over the radio. I am recording. Colonel Cross, please state your full name and rank for the record. Cross sat down, exhausted, defeated, but still professional. Colonel Victoria N. Cross, United States Army, serial number 674899213. I am making this statement under duress, but of my own free will. I am the commanding officer of Operation Frostbite, a classified DoD black project designed to create assassins using memory suppression technology. Over 3 years, 8 soldiers were selected, drugged, programmed to kill domestic targets, and then had their memories chemically erased. I authorized 16 assassinations. All targets were American citizens. None had trials. None had due process. This was illegal. This was wrong, and I accept full responsibility. Who created protocol? Mercer asked. General Marcus Shepard, retired, currently living in Virginia. He designed the program 15 years ago, ran it for 12 years, recruited me as his successor, taught me how to suppress memories, how to program soldiers, how to select targets, how to make people disappear without anyone noticing. He is the architect, I am the executor, but there are others. Senators who approved black budgets. CIA directors who provided targets, defense contractors who built the suppression technology. I have names, dates, bank accounts, everything. She spent the next 8 minutes naming names, describing operations, detailing crimes. It was a confession, a testimony, a complete exposure of a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of government and military. Donovan recorded every word, transmitted it in real time to multiple secure locations, journalists, investigators, congressional oversight committees, people who could not be silenced, could not be disappeared, could not be bought. 5 minutes left when Cross finished. She looked at Dana, looked at Mercer, looked at Chen. You have your evidence. Now run. The blast door control is in that room. She pointed to a side chamber. Manual override. It will open the door for 30 seconds. That is all. Once it closes, it will not open again. You will have to be through it and 300 yards clear before detonation. That is possible if you move now. What about you? Chen asked. I stay. This is my atonement, my penance. I destroyed lives. Now I pay with mine. That is fair. That is just. Now go. Dana wanted to argue, wanted to force Cross to come with them, but there was no time. The math was brutal. They could save Cross or they could save themselves, not both. And Cross had made her choice, had accepted her fate, had found her peace. Let's move. Mercer was already heading for the override room. They ran, 4 minutes left. The override was a manual system, mechanical, required 2 people to operate. Dana and Mercer grabbed the wheels, turned them in opposite directions. The blast door groaned, began to open, slowly, too slowly, but opening. 3 minutes left. Chen, go, run, do not stop, do not look back, get clear, Dana's voice. Chen ran through the opening door, into the corridor, sprinting, young legs, strong legs. She would make it, probably. 2 minutes 30 seconds left. Your turn, Dana. Mercer held his wheel. I will hold the door. Not happening. That is an order. You do not give me orders anymore. We leave together. Someone has to hold the door open long enough for the other to get through. Otherwise it closes and traps us both. Simple physics. And I am the old one, the injured one. The one who has 36 years. You have your whole life, your whole career. You take over the training program. You teach the next generation. You make sure protocol never happens again. That is the mission, and you are going to complete it. Frank, no. Dana, yes. This is not sacrifice. This is logic, this is necessity, and this is goodbye. Now run. Dana looked at him, saw the man who had saved her career 8 years ago, who had trained her, who had taught her what it meant to be a soldier, who had given her purpose and direction and a reason to be better than she thought she could be. He was not asking, he was not suggesting, he was ordering, and it was the last order he would ever give. I will make sure they remember you. Her voice was breaking, tears she did not have time for. I will make sure everyone knows what you did, what you sacrificed. I do not need to be remembered. I need you to live. Now go. She went through the door, into the corridor, running. Behind her the door stayed open, Mercer holding it, straining against the hydraulics, giving her time, giving her distance, giving her life at the cost of his own. 2 minutes left. Dana caught up to Chen. They ran together, upstairs, through corridors. The facility was shaking, tremors from below. The bomb was active. The countdown was progressing. Detonation was inevitable. They just had to be far enough away when it happened. 1 minute 30 seconds left. They reached the main entrance. The blast door was open. Mercer had held it, had given them escape. Beyond the door was ice. Cold, freedom. They burst through, into the glacier, into the wind, into the terrible, beautiful cold that meant they were alive. 1 minute left. Run, Chen shouted. Unnecessary, they were already running, as fast as legs could move, as fast as lungs could breathe. The glacier's surface was uneven, crevasses everywhere. One wrong step and they would fall, die before the bomb even mattered. But they did not fall. They ran 50 yards, 100, 200. 30 seconds left. They dove behind an ice ridge, covered their heads, prayed, not to any god, just to physics, to mathematics, to the slim hope that 200 yards was enough distance, that the glacier would absorb the blast, that they would survive. 20 seconds. Dana thought about Mercer, about Cross, about the 8 soldiers who had died because protocol decided they were liabilities, about the 16 people those soldiers had killed without knowing, about all the victims of a system that valued secrecy over humanity, about justice and sacrifice, and whether any of it mattered if you died before seeing results. 10 seconds. The glacier shook, a sound like thunder from below, then the explosion, not up, down, the facility collapsing into itself, controlled detonation, designed to bury evidence. To seal the tomb, to erase history, the glacier cracked, massive fractures spreading from the epicenter, ice falling into new chasms. The mountain was reshaping itself, geology in fast forward. Dana and Chen held on, gripped the ice. Let the shockwave pass over them. It was massive, violent, but survivable. They were far enough. Barely. The blast radius ended 20 yards short of their position, close enough to feel the heat, close enough to taste the ash, but far enough to live. When it ended, they stood, looked back. The facility was gone, buried under 10,000 tons of ice and rock. Nothing remained. No entrance, no structure, no evidence, just a crater in the glacier and smoke rising into gray sky. Mercer, Chen's voice was small. "He is gone." Dana said it flatly, fact, not emotion. Emotion would come later. Right now she needed to function, needed to complete the mission. "He gave us time, he held the door, he died so we could live. That is what soldiers do, that is what he taught me." "What do we do now?" "We walk to the plane. We fly back, we testify. We make sure his sacrifice mattered. We make sure everyone knows what protocol did. And we make sure it never happens again. That is the mission. That is all that matters." They walked across the glacier to the Cessna. It was still there, still intact. Dana climbed into the pilot seat. She had basic training, enough to fly, enough to get them home. She started the engine, took off, left the glacier behind, left the crater, left Mercer, left everything except the mission. 3 hours later they landed at Fort Wainwright. Military police were waiting. They had questions. Dana and Chen had answers. They were taken into custody, not arrested, protected. Witnesses, evidence, assets in a case that was already going public. Donovan had released Cross's testimony, released everything. Within 6 hours it was on every news channel, every website, every front page. Protocol was exposed. The conspiracy was revealed, and the investigations began. 4 days later, Dana sat across from a man in a suit, Inspector General, Department of Defense. He had been interviewing her for 6 hours, going over every detail, every mission, every memory, building a case. "Master Sergeant Reeves, your testimony has been invaluable. Combined with Colonel Cross's confession and the supporting evidence we have recovered, we have opened investigations into 47 individuals. 15 have already been arrested. More will follow. This is the largest military corruption scandal in 50 years, and it is because of you. It is because of Mercer. He held the door. He gave us time. He made the choice I could not. He will be honored posthumously. We are recommending him for the Medal of Honor. His sacrifice saved lives and exposed crimes that threatened the foundation of our military. He was a hero." Dana nodded, but the word felt hollow. Hero. Like it somehow made dying acceptable, made sacrifice noble. Mercer had not wanted to be a hero, he had wanted to be an instructor, to teach, to shape the next generation. But the system had forced him into a situation where heroism was the only option, and that was the real crime, not that he died, but that he had to. "What about the families?" Dana asked. "The 8 soldiers, the 16 targets, do they get to know the truth?" "The families of the 8 soldiers will be told their loved ones were victims of illegal experimentation. They will receive full benefits and compensation. The families of the 16 targets will be told their loved ones were killed under classified circumstances, and the perpetrators are being brought to justice. It is not complete transparency, but it is more than they had." And General Shepard, under arrest, awaiting trial. He will spend the rest of his life in prison, along with everyone else involved. This time there will be accountability. This time justice will be served. Dana stood. "Am I free to go?" "You are, but before you leave, I want you to know something. The Army wants you to take over the SEER training program. Master Sergeant Mercer recommended you before he died. He submitted the paperwork. Command approved it. You are now the senior instructor. His legacy continues through you." Dana walked out of the building. Into sunlight. It was spring now. The Alaska winter was ending, snow melting, temperatures rising. The world continuing despite everything that had happened, despite the deaths, despite the revelations, despite the crater in the glacier where good men had died stopping evil ones. She found Chen waiting outside. The young lieutenant had been cleared, had given her testimony, was returning to duty, but different now. Changed. No longer the scared recruit who almost quit, now a warrior who had walked into hell and come out the other side. "Sergeant Reeves, do you need anything?" "No, but thank you for asking." "What will you do now?" "I will teach. I will train the next generation. I will make sure they know about protocol, about what happens when soldiers become weapons, about the importance of questioning orders, about knowing the difference between duty and blindness. That is what Mercer would want. That is how I honor him." Chen nodded, started to leave, then stopped. "Sergeant, in the facility, when Mercer held the door, you could have stayed, could have held it with him, bought more time. Maybe both of you could have escaped. Why did not you?" Dana had asked herself the same question, had replayed that moment 1,000 times, had wondered if there was another way, if she could have saved him, if she had made the right choice. "Because he ordered me to go, and he was right. Someone had to survive to testify, to expose protocol, to complete the mission. He chose to be the one who stayed, and I chose to be the one who lived. That is command, that is leadership. Making the hard choices so others do not have to. He taught me that. And then he demonstrated it. That was his final lesson." 6 months later, Dana stood in front of 40 new recruits. SEER training class. They were young, eager, full of the idealism that military service had not yet tempered. She remembered being that young, that eager, that naive 8 years ago, in this same room, facing this same training, meeting Frank Mercer for the first time. "My name is Master Sergeant Dana Reeves. I am the senior SEER instructor. Over the next 12 weeks, I am going to teach you how to survive the worst situations imaginable. Cold water, hostile interrogation, escape and evasion, physical and mental stress beyond anything you have experienced. Some of you will quit. Some of you will fail. That is acceptable. What is not acceptable is not trying. What is not acceptable is giving up before you know your limits. What is not acceptable is assuming you know what you are capable of before you test it." She paused, looked at their faces, saw herself, saw Chen, saw every student Mercer had trained over 36 years. 6 months ago, my instructor died saving my life. Master Sergeant Frank Mercer, the best soldier I ever knew, the best teacher I ever had. He taught me that being a soldier is not about following orders blindly. It is about knowing when to follow them and when to question them. It is about understanding that duty sometimes means sacrifice, but sacrifice should never be easy, should never be casual, should always cost something, because if it does not cost anything, it is not sacrifice. It is just transaction. One recruit raised her hand. Young woman, Asian features, reminded Dana of Chen. Sergeant, what did his sacrifice accomplish? It exposed a conspiracy that had killed 8 soldiers and 16 civilians. It brought 47 criminals to justice. It prevented protocol from ever being used again. And it ensured that you, standing here today, will be trained to think, not just to obey. That is what his sacrifice accomplished. That is why it mattered. Dana continued the briefing, covered the training schedule, the expectations, the standards, the consequences of failure, standard instructor talk, standard military procedure, but different now, because she knew what could happen when soldiers stopped thinking, when orders became absolute, when national security justified any action. She would teach these recruits skills, but she would also teach them judgment, teach them to question. Teach them that being a good soldier meant having a conscience. After the class, she returned to her office, found a message waiting, encrypted from Donovan. She opened it. "Dana, thought you should know. We arrested the last person on the list, Senator Wallace. 48 people total now in custody. Trials begin next month. Protocol is officially dead. Mercer would be proud. Also something else. I have been monitoring classified channels. There are rumors about another program, similar to protocol but different. Newer, more sophisticated, might be nothing, might be something. Thought you should know. If you want to investigate, I can help. Your call." Dana read it twice. Thought about Mercer, about Cross, about the crater in the glacier, about all the death and sacrifice and pain that had gone into stopping protocol. And now Donovan was saying there might be another one, another conspiracy, another threat, another mission. She typed a response. "Send me the details. If there is another protocol out there, we stop it. Same as before, same as always, because that is the job, that is what soldiers do. We stop the threats no one else can see. We fight the wars no one else knows about. And we do it because if we do not, who will?" She sent it, closed the computer, looked at the photo on her desk. Mercer, taken 8 years ago, after her second selection attempt, after he had given her another chance, after she had passed. He was smiling in the photo, proud, the smile of an instructor who had just seen a student succeed, who had just witnessed potential becoming reality. "I will make you proud." She said it to the photo, to the memory, to the ghost. "I will teach them the way you taught me. I will give them chances the way you gave me chances. And I will make sure protocol stays dead. That is my promise. That is my mission. That is how I honor your sacrifice." Outside, the Alaska sun was setting, spring turning to summer, the world continuing. The glacier was still there. The crater was still there, but life went on. Missions continued. New threats emerged. New soldiers trained. The cycle never ended, but that was okay. Because as long as there were soldiers like Mercer, like Dana, like Chen, like everyone who put on a uniform and swore to protect and serve, the cycle had purpose, had meaning, had honor. And honor was worth dying for. But it was better to live for it. Dana locked her office, headed to the training facility. She had a cold water demonstration in 30 minutes, 40 recruits watching, waiting to see if she was as good as the legend said, waiting to see if she could do what Mercer had done, teach not just skills but character, not just tactics but judgment, not just survival but purpose. She could, she would, because that was what students did. They took the lessons their instructors gave them, and they passed them on, generation to generation, making each one a little better, a little stronger, a little more ready for whatever came next. That was the real protocol, not the one that killed, but the one that taught, the one that built, the one that ensured the best of humanity survived even when the worst tried to destroy it. And that protocol would never die, because it lived in every soldier who refused to quit, every instructor who gave second chances, every warrior who chose to think instead of just obey, every person who looked at impossible odds and said, "Not today, not to me, not while I still have breath." Mercer had taught her that, and she would teach others, and they would teach the next generation, and the cycle would continue, forever, because that was what made civilization possible. Not governments, not laws, not systems, but people who chose to be better, to do better, to sacrifice for others, to hold doors open while others escaped, to give everything so others could have anything. That was the protocol, the only one that mattered, the only one that would endure. And Dana Reeves would spend the rest of her life upholding it. Master Sergeant Mercer's sacrifice, holding that door while Dana escaped, is why I tell these stories. It's not about the explosions. It's about what soldiers give up when duty demands it. Question for you. If you'd been programmed to do something terrible without knowing it, would you still be responsible? That's what haunted Dana throughout this mission. What hit you hardest? Mercer's choice, the conspiracy, Dana continuing his legacy? Drop a comment, I read them all. And if you want more stories that honor military sacrifice over spectacle, subscribe. Next week, a Vietnam vet's 40-year promise.